What's goody? Hey man, LeBron James just signed with the Philadelphia 76ers for 2 years, $8 million contract, bro. I genuinely cannot believe this. So let's just dive right into it. Immediately, I'm thinking of the starting lineup, right? You got Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, Jaylen Brown, LeBron James slides in at the four, and then Joel Embiid when healthy. This was already a team that everybody, including myself, was looking at ever since they made the trade from Paul George to the Paul George trade with Jaylen Brown. Ever since they made that trade, everybody, including myself, was looking at them as probably the favorite in the Eastern Conference. And now they just got LeBron James on a very cheap deal because they couldn't have afforded to get him on anything more than this. They get LeBron James on an extremely cheap deal after already having a roster that looked elite. The only questions that anybody really would have had about the Philadelphia 76ers up until this point would have been about their depth, maybe, especially because they lost guys like Kelly Oubre and they traded Jared McCain and they lost Quentin Grimes and everything like that. But dude, you now have Maxey, VJ, Braun, Jaylen Brown, Joel Embiid. That starting five. If you can get 50 games from Joel Embiid, if you can get 50 games from LeBron James and everyone else can be healthy, and then you get a healthy playoff run from LeBron James, the sky is literally the limit for this team. This is a team that drafted a LeBaron Philon, bro. Like this. Bro, as a Raptors fan, I literally want to cry right now, but at the same time, as a basketball fan, as a guy that wanted to see LeBron go to a team where he would have a genuine chance of competing, and all the rumors were talking about Miami with the fake or with the tweet and everything, or the video, whatever they had with the release thing that came out and then it got deleted and everything like that, everybody was thinking it was Miami. He had been there before, or Cleveland, a place that he has called home for a vast majority of his life, and now LeBron James is a Philadelphia 76er. I mean, immediately, though, this makes them the favorite, I think. I think this would make them the favorite above the Knicks. I think this would probably make them the favorite above the Spurs, because while the Spurs did add a Tobias Harris and while they did make some good draft choices, at least I think in my opinion, they didn't add anything to the level of a LeBron James, and they did lose to the Knicks in 5 games. So I don't think you can rationally have them above even the Knicks. So, yeah, I think this makes the Philadelphia 76ers the betting favorites, and my group chat is blowing up right now. I got the homies asking why would he go to Philly for a farewell tour, and I think that is a very valid question, right? Like, why Philadelphia of all cities? Why not go back to a Miami where you can live in South Beach and you have the notoriety of the fans because you've already been there? Why not go back to a Cleveland where you've already called that place home and you know the fan love there is going to be crazier than any other place? But my whole thing is, first of all, he signed a 2-year deal, so are we even sure this is going to be his last year? And then second of all, I think this was about winning. I think LeBron James wants to have a 5th ring. I think he wants to tie Kobe Bryant. I think he wants to have one more than Steph Curry. I don't think he's going to feel as good about his GOAT case if he retires with the same amount of rings as Steph Curry, and these are guys that played in the same era. At least I wouldn't. I'm not saying he won't. I don't think he will, but I wouldn't personally. Like, I would be like, dang, it is tough to be the GOAT. When Jordan got 6, I only got 4, and another guy in my era also has 4. He beat me for 2 of them. 3 of them, actually. Wow, bro, this is crazy. I feel like I have so much and so little to say at the same time because I'm almost like speechless. Like, I am genuinely stunned because, I mean, when LeBron James signed with the Miami Heat, right, I was a young kid, but I remember watching that on SportsCenter, and I remember the decision and everything like that when that happened, and I remember the hate. Now, I, as a young kid, I was a Kobe fan at the time, so I was extremely upset because, you know what I mean, Kobe's coming off these championships and blah, 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 and I was extremely upset because I'm like, damn, that means they're going to beat them, you know what I mean? And then he goes back to Cleveland, and I loved that for him. I loved him coming back from down 3-1. He goes to LA and teams up with Anthony Davis and wins that bubble ring, and now he has nothing left to prove in his entire career, and he goes to a team where you saw the Philadelphia 76ers, like I said, already do crazy things in this offseason, and now you add a LeBron James to really cap things off. And I think he does answer a lot of questions that you have about this team because you trust LeBron to be a shooter. I think you trust Joel Embiid to be a shooter. You trust Jaylen Brown and VJ Edgecombe. VJ Edgecombe will be the worst shooter on this team, and he's not the worst shooter in the league or anything like that. Jaylen Brown is an okay shooter. You have good playmaking with, like, I think one of my biggest concerns about this team, outside of health and outside of depth, when it comes to actual on-the-court basketball, even assuming everyone was healthy, was going to be the playmaking. Because, like I said, I believe in the shooting and the scoring, and I don't think they were ever going to be hurting for buckets with the amount of guys they have out there. I was a bit worried just really about the passing and maybe a little bit about the defense, right? But now You have maybe the greatest passer, the greatest playmaker of all time in LeBron James on your team, one of the smartest players, one of the best field generals you can ever have in the game of basketball, a guy that literally, no matter whether he's on the bench, whether he's on the court or whatever, is a guy that is going to quarterback everything for you. You have a Tyrese Maxey, who's a guy that can get you 30 points a game at any time. You have a Jaylen Brown, who was just a 30-point-per-game scorer, top 5, top 6 in MVP voting, and is one of the best two-way players in the league. So now you don't need him to get 30 points a game. You can be like, hey, top back into that two-way mold a little bit more, assuming he's okay with that, because there were rumors about him and Tatum's problem being that he wanted to be a number one. And I do think there could be problems there. Like, if there is any truth to Jaylen Brown really, really wanting to be a number one, that's going to be tough when you're in a city where the fans already love Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid, and now you have a LeBron James there as well, who's going to get all the fan love in the world. It's going to be tough, and I could see there maybe being some problems there. But at the same time, I don't necessarily believe that Jaylen Brown really wanted out of Boston because he really wanted to be a number one, because if that's the truth, why didn't he ever actually request a trade? You know what I mean? So I don't really foresee that being an issue. They just fixed their passing issue because they got LeBron James, who, like I said, is one of the greatest passers / playmakers of all time. VJ Edgecombe is a phenomenal defender. I do think this could hurt his development a little bit, playing on a team that is this loaded. I do think they're probably going to turn him into mostly a defender. I wonder, will they ask Jaylen Brown? Will they ask a LeBron? Will they ask an Embiid even to tap into that two-way role a little more? But I like this even more because when I think about the bench, I don't just think about a LeBron or Phylon or anything like that, but I also think about, damn, they do have a Dean Wade as a guy that can be a little bit of a defensive guy, a versatility type of guy, a guy that can stretch the floor at least a little bit. And let me go ahead and look up the Philadelphia 76ers roster because I want to make sure I'm not missing anything too crazy. But this is a team that it doesn't have like the worst depth in the league. You know what I mean? Like, especially now that they have a LeBron James, that makes you feel even better about the depth. And I forgot, with guards, they got a Caleb Love, who I think is a good guard. And like I said, he's going to be playing behind a lot of guys now. He's going to be playing behind a Tyrese Maxey, a VJ, probably a LeBron Phylon. And for sure, I even forgot they got Anthony Simons. For sure, Anthony Simons. So he's probably not going to play. But they have so many guards. They have a ton of guard depth. They have scoring from everywhere. Literally, the only thing I think you can talk about with this team from the on-court might be defense. But at the same time, we've seen Jaylen Brown lock up Luka for an entire final series to the best extent that we've really ever seen anyone lock up Luka. We've seen LeBron tap into his defensive bag, where I understand he's 41 years old and you're not going to ask him to be the 2013 version of himself where he was second in DPOY. But we know that LeBron James can have stretches where he can be one of the top wing defenders on the team, because he did it on the Lakers. Even when the Lakers had guys that were playing good defense in those years, he was still one of the top defenders on that team. And you have a Dean Wade coming off the bench who, like I said, is going to be a good defender. You have Joel Embiid, who, while he's not as athletic as he once was, and he's not the greatest rim protector as he once was, he's still a big body down low that people are going to be at least a little bit intimidated by. He's not going to get blown by to the level of a Nikola Jokic. You still got to see the Heat. You still got to see the Raptors. You still got to see the Knicks. You still got to see these teams out east. Don't get me wrong, but the Philadelphia 76ers, and then out west, you still would have to see the Thunder, or you still would have to see OKC, or you still would have to see one of those teams out west. So don't get me wrong. I'm not about to sit here and say the Philadelphia 76ers just won the championship, but I do think the Philadelphia 76ers just made themselves the heavy favorite. I'm going to get this video out. Y'all probably noticed this is not my normal setup. My daughter is asleep right now taking a nap. I did not want to go up there, fire up all that extra stuff, and be loud where I'm closer to her and could potentially end up waking her up. But I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for watching as always. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And man, this is absolutely insane. All right, peace out.